Hey yo, what up? This is Drew Breeze. I'm trying a new thing. It's live blogging with Drew Breeze. So I'm trying to go live a lot, and I'm trying to bring y'all into my process. So I'm going to be live streaming on my YouTube channel while also live blogging the content that you see on my Medium page. And this is an experiment in display, in community. Like, how do you bring community into the creation process? Like, do y'all want to see how it's really done? Because I'm here to actually introduce you to ways that it can be done, that I haven't even heard of before. That this is going to be the first time for me even trying this. So bear with me. I'm about to turn off this AC because it's wild loud. I hope I can be heard. I'm gonna check on the stream myself. Um, I'm gonna send some other people this stream link, and see if they can hear it, see it, if they're seeing some of the effects that are happening. It's wild out. So far, I can hear everything okay. It looks like my audio is good, and I'm just gonna be talking about this essay that I have. I'm gonna pull it up on the screen for you, and it's about Lil Wayne and Jay-Z. Just get to it, because each of them appeared on DJ Khaled's. Um, they appeared on DJ Khaled's recent album. It's called God Did, and the title track is also called God Did. Hold on, I'm gonna turn off this AC. This AC is wild loud. Anyway, so on God Did, Jay-Z, Jay-Z and Lil Wayne are, I would say, the feature verses. And these are two of rap's most influential, prominent, excellent, skilled MCs. Like, you're never going to hear rappers do it like Wayne and Jay-Z did it. And specifically, Jay-Z here is my focus because Wayne is the pupil. He is the person who, he was influenced by Jay-Z. And so because he's the person who's the pupil, he got the benefit. It's like Kobe and Jordan, right? He got the benefit of seeing Jordan operate. So Kobe Bryant was even better because he could copy what he saw Michael Jordan do and add to it. And that is a lot of the relationship dynamic between Lil Wayne and Jay-Z. He even called himself a Carter, and he, Lil Wayne on the Carter 3, he has a song, Mr. Carter, and he basically is paying homage to Jay-Z while they're still here, while he's giving him his flowers while they're still working and relevant rap artists. And that's amazing. I love that. I'm going to drop the link now in some places. I'm about to drop the link to the stream onto my Twitter. I want y'all to know that I'm streaming. I'm streaming live talking about this because I want y'all to understand that this is super important to me, that we record the history of rap music, of words. So again, Lil Wayne and Jay-Z are masters of words. I gotta get better at looking at the camera because I'm like looking at the different screens I have up. It's crazy. The setup here is crazy. But Lil Wayne and Jay-Z both are masters of words. And what they do is they envision a verse in their minds and then they record it in studio. They both have said that they do that. In fact, Jay-Z said he doesn't write in studio, and I think Lil Wayne took that and ran with it. And he was like, yo, I want to be like that. I want to be the person who you can say, I didn't write things down, but it was so vivid in my mind, and I kind of blocked it out. And I would say, as a writer and artist myself, that is how I write too. I do end up writing it down, though. I'm not going to say that, like, what you see here, like me streaming, or what you might witness from me in other aspects, other forms of media, is not written down. I write things down. I think there's some honor and there's some skill in writing things down and recording things. Um, and Lil Wayne and Jay-Z, because of their medium, because they're in music, they can actually not write things down, but have them recorded as text, right? So it's like, because they sing and rap lyrics, those words will be written down. They're of the record, whether or not they themselves write it down, which is a very unique position to be in as an artist. It's actually fantastic that they've embraced that they're part of the written record, whether or not they are, spelling and writing the words. They understand that that's the point. Like, they enter the record by way of using powerful words, which is awesome. And this DJ Khaled and Lil Wayne and Jay-Z song, God Did, and Rick Ross is also on it. Rick Ross has a kind of like forgettable, sort of like stock in trade Rick Ross verse. He talks a lot about luxury and he's very like his raps are really unctuous. So like they're just about savoring the senses, and unfortunately that limits Rick Ross and makes him somewhat forgettable, even though the lines sound good. And shout out to Rick Ross. I've met him. He's an awesome guy. He's an awesome artist. He's a person who's carved out a lane for himself. But right now we're talking about the masters of rap. Okay, we're talking about masters of rap in Lil Wayne and Jay-Z. And Lil Wayne and Jay-Z, I think they became masters of rap in very different ways. And in this essay that I'm about to bring up on the screen, I talk a little bit about specifically how these two are regarded in their genre, but also why the cities that they're from greatly influence how they're perceived and what they did to get on the map. So I'm going to pull the essay up on screen. Hopefully I can do this really quickly and seamlessly. And also bear with me because I'm still learning how to do this a bit. Actually, I know a really cool, easy way to do it. So I have the essay right here. And it's strongly titled because I strongly believe that these two artists, I hold them to a really high standard. That's what I'll say. I hold Wayne and Jay-Z to an incredibly high standard, and I hold myself to a high standard. I'm not the kind of person who's gonna talk about rap and not hold myself to the standard that I hold others to. Right? Like, I think that's one thing when you are commenting on an art form, you have to be willing to hold yourself to the standard that you hold others to. And so this essay is from my Medium page. It's called Lil Wayne's Mastery Makes Me Appreciate Him and Sigh at Jay-Z. Because I feel like Jay-Z, he got a lot of fanfare. He got a lot of fanfare for his verse on Khaled's work, and it was a long verse. As a person who he's retired from rap, he doesn't always rap. He's not in our faces all the time. Jay-Z doesn't saturate us with music in an era of saturation, and he's not on social media. He's purposely very rare. So when he drops a project, like when he was on Jay Electronica's album a couple years back, at the start of pandemic, when we hear his imprint, his vocal imprint on Beyonce's album, "Unicorn is the uniform you put on," like that on that you go on, that's a very Jay-Z. Like, Beyonce doesn't have the New York accent that would make her rhyme unicorn with "you put on," and that's Jay-Z. That's like a signature Jay-Z affect. That's what makes his rhymes beautiful and distinguished and distinct. So I would never say that Jay-Z is, he's not worthy of our praise. He's definitely worthy of our praise. We're happy to have him in the rap game. I think the problem sometimes is that because he's so focused on his wealth, right? Like his status, not only his status, but as a billionaire, as his claim goes, but his status specifically as a person who needs to be appreciated. Like he talks a lot about why he needs to be appreciated, why people overlook him. That's been a Jay-Z trope for over 20 years, honestly. Like Jay-Z's always talking about how we don't appreciate how good he is. And while that may be true, one, it becomes exhausting when you say it a lot. When you say, hey, look at me, you'll never see how great I am because I'm telling you I'm great, but you never give me the praise that I deserve. Which is odd because I feel like he's on top of the game. We've always said Jay-Z's one of the most skilled. He's always in the conversation of the best rappers ever to do it. But it's almost like his self-concept doesn't allow him to like let go of that point. And on this song, it kind of comes through in his verse. It comes through that he feels really underappreciated. That he needs to remind you of his influence on the game. He needs to remind you of who he's put on. In fact, he starts out his verses. If I can click over to this Genius link here, I'll put it on screen. But on the song God Did, Jay-Z starts out his verse. I'm going to throw it up on screen so you can see it. Where he says, Lord forgive me for what the stove did. Nobody touched a Billy until Hove did. So he's very like conscious about saying, hey, I'm a billionaire, right? But then beyond that, beyond just saying that he's a billionaire, look how he kind of flips it. So he then says, how many billionaires can come from Hove crib? I count 3, me, Ye, and Ree, as in Kanye, as in Rihanna. Bron's a rock boy, so 4 technically. Okay, so he's like, he says so 4 technically. That's a great sort of shout out to himself. He does a great shout out to himself. 4 technically. I think that it's fine to say that you are. It's fine to say that you helped people, but this particular way of calling out that he helps people, I heard I have some light static, so I hope the mic is not screaming at you right now. But this particular way that Jay-Z has of telling people, hey, I helped this one. Like he goes on in the verse to say that he helped Meek Mill get free, like the free of the charge. Oh, you know what might be causing the static? Let me turn off this fan. I got a fan on. It's summertime, but Jay-Z has this way of always reminding you that he's the person responsible for either a style or, I mean, even when Biggie died, he talked so much about how if I ain't better than Big, I'm the closest one, or like Big was my homeboy. It's almost like he wants to associate Biggie's success with his own, and it's not to say that you can't affiliate yourself with people who were in the same artistic realm that you were, but the way that he does it, like saying me, Ye, and Ree, and Bron, it's like Kanye, Rihanna, LeBron James, those are some of the most accomplished people in the world, right? Like just because of the tier that they're in, they're going to cross paths with Jay-Z. And of course Jay-Z was instrumental in someone like Kanye's career, although not at first, right? Like I don't think he believed in Kanye very much at first. Rihanna, he was instrumental in her career at first, right? At the ground level. He's like, I'm going to try to give you a break. LeBron James, I don't know if you could say he is as instrumental. I would say he's probably like a mentor figure in LeBron James's life, but it's like no one's going to go out on the court and shoot the free throws for you. And in the same vein, no one's going to make beats for Kanye. No one's going to make albums for Rihanna. I don't think he is properly crediting how uniquely and singularly determined these people are that he's shouting out as billionaires that came from his crib. You know what I'm saying? Like that's almost saying you birthed them, which is wild. That's a really wild claim, but it kind of goes to why Jay-Z's verses have not really hit the same since achieving ultimate success. And Lil Wayne's, on the other hand, first of all, Lil Wayne's verses like so much more concise. He gets on the song, and he immediately starts word playing, and I think that's the thing that makes that such a great feat on his part. Is Lil Wayne says to start. Let me see what the first line is. I'll pull it up on the screen. Sky's the limit. Every day I reach. So this is the Lil Wayne verse. Sky's the limit. Every day I reach. They was tired of me winning. Now they dead sleep. So immediately goes into metaphors and wordplay, right? Jay-Z, he is more of a literalist. He has the capability. He has the tools as a master of the rap genre to use double and triple entendres and layers of meaning. But he is more of a literalist. He's more saying, hey, this is my story. This is what actually happened. Whereas Lil Wayne, as a wordplay artist, is saying, sky's the limit. Every day I reach. I'm reaching for the sky. They was tired of me winning. Now they dead sleep. So it's like you can be tired your whole life. You'll die asleep. You'll be dead sleep because if you're tired of that, I'm always winning. And you'll be tired from when you're alive to when you're dead if you're waiting on me to fall off. Which is, I think you pack so much more meaning when you use wordplay, even though that's like subjective taste, right? My subjective taste is to say, hey, Lil Wayne is a person who I enjoy his wordplay so much, and I want to hear it immediately to start to unravel what he's going to do with these words. And Jay-Z is the kind of person where, unless you're fully captivated by his story, and I think there are certain people who, because they want to be entrepreneurs, because they're like hardline capitalists, they're like, if I'm given an opportunity, I'm going to flip it into another opportunity, and good for them. But I think with Wayne, he's saying things like, I am the proof that if you try and you kind of set your limit to the sky, you can reach it, right? Whereas Jay-Z is more like, I did these things that only I can do. You know, like he's inspiring if you're selfish. You know, and like all of us is selfish to an extent, right? Like all of us has that narcissistic streak in us. But Jay-Z is the kind of person who is like, do as I do, right? Like try to emulate me, because you won't. I won't tell you that I'm relatable because I'm not. But you can try to emulate me. Like I'll tell you how I did it, and you could see if you have the capabilities to do it too. Whereas I think Lil Wayne gives a message more of like, I did it and you can too, right? Like he makes it more about an inclusive kind of like communal way of getting it, and Jay-Z is sort of like one of your professorial teachers in school that's like, hey, don't mess up, don't do it this way, and that's, you know, that's his tendency. I just want to say thank you so much for anyone who's watching, even if it's one person, even if it's just a person who's helping me to figure out how I sound, how I look on the live stream. Please jump in the chat. I'm going to drop the link into Facebook also to see some of my Facebook heads, to see if y'all will join in the chat. I'm probably going to live stream this to Facebook maybe in a day or two. And hopefully you'll join. This is Lil Wayne versus Jay-Z, talking about their verses on DJ Khaled's God Did. and we're debating, whose verse is better. I personally think Wayne's is better. I think he accomplishes more in less time. Um, so I'm gonna open it up to the chat. So I'm glad y'all are here. I always put the name Kanye instead of Lil Wayne. Greats are greats, and Jay-Z is a great. So I'm gonna give everybody the opportunity to jump in the chat at any point. Um, I'm really happy that y'all are here. I'm really happy to anyone who decides to jump in this. This is like a complete experiment. I've never done something like this before, where it's like a long live stream, and I plan to do way more of them because I want to hear what y'all have to say. Um, I want to hear what your opinions are on artists like Jay-Z and Lil Wayne, who are legacy artists who are both great in their own right. They do different things. They do some of the same things that masters of their craft will do. And it's really up to us as the people to decide, what we like better, especially over time. And I think over time, someone like Jay-Z has become a little bit more predictable, and sometimes a little like tiring. I would say like it's tiring to hear from Jay-Z like what what he is claiming to be about. So I just dropped a logo on the screen. It's a super big logo. This is like my test of a brand called The Honest Man's Guide. Hopefully you'll see it. So let's call this episode 1 of The Honest Man's Guide. Hopefully you'll see it on the screen. Let me know if you do or not. Oh, I might have dropped it out. I might have dropped the logo out. But this is what we're doing. We're testing. We're trying to see if y'all want to jump in the chat about Jay-Z versus Lil Wayne. Who had the best verse on God Did? Can we talk a little bit about DJ Khaled albums? I mean, I think it's a tried and true formula in art to do an anthology and to put together like sort of a best of the current artists of the time. I'm not particularly interested in it. I think there was a time when DJ Khaled did this in a very unique way. He was the kind of person who was going to find up-and-comers and folks that you might not know. I'm not as interested in his curation right now of those artists because it doesn't seem like he blends them to fit. You know what I mean? Like, he just wants to get all the biggest names. It's the same reason I'm not interested in listening to The Game's new album, because The Game is like, not only does he name drop, his albums sound like a bibliography or like a works cited. Not only does The Game name drop in every one of his lines, he also has, like a million features, because I think he has 30 tracks on this album, and I think there's a feature on every track. It's like, you don't get to know an artist's voice or, themes of an album when it's just everyone kind of like dropped together because they have a name. Because the thing about it is, like, somebody like Lil Baby or Lil Wayne or Rick Ross, these people have different fans. Like, as a hip hop fan, you might like all of them for different reasons, but they bring different fan bases in for different reasons. And so when DJ Khaled brings those people together on an album, it's kind of with the assumption that you're going to these people for the same things, which is maybe like a hot rap verse. But actually what you're going to these people for are their stories, right? What their principles are, what their values are, what their rap styles are, how they convey those styles over time with artists like Jay-Z and Lil Wayne. And I feel like Khaled is just kind of ignoring that and just like, yo, I'm just gonna throw everything into the pot. Like, imagine if somebody was like, yo, I'm gonna come over to your house and make soup, and I'm gonna put like pineapples in it, put coconut, some chicken, some jelly beans, some fennel, and then you'd be like, jelly beans? Like, because at first you was making like a Thai soup, right? You got the coconut, you got the curry, but jelly beans, fam, why? And it's like, oh, well, like people like jelly beans. Like, why wouldn't you want jelly beans in the soup? It's because jelly beans don't go in soup, my guy. Like, so I think that's what Khaled does. He be the jelly beans in the soup type of dude. I'm trying not to curse on these streams. You know what I'm saying? Because, it's YouTube. Might be kids watching at some point. So, I used to say a lot of N words and B words. I'm not saying that now. And like I'm a little more official. The Medium essay I'll pull up on the screen is called Lil Wayne's Mastery Makes Me Appreciate Him and Sigh at Jay-Z. So I'm gonna pull up the Medium essay on screen. Let's see if you can read it. Lil Wayne's mastery makes me appreciate him and sigh at Jay-Z. So I'm actually just gonna read the essay. I'm gonna see if I can get a slightly bigger version for myself to read. Hopefully y'all can hold it down. Y'all can see it on screen. I am going to bring up the Medium version for myself. Hold tight. Anyone who is watching, I love you for coming into the chat. I love you for trying this out with me. And here go my essay about this topic. Lil Wayne's mastery makes me appreciate him and sigh at Jay-Z. I'm supposed to be a Jay-Z fan. I was raised in Brooklyn, where he was born and shouts out in his rhymes. I understand the New York experience, which is equal parts refinement and grit. Everyone from every place likes to brag about their hometown, but New Yorkers frustrate others with that bombast because the city often lives up to the hype, if you can make it here, etc. I estimate it's the reason so few like New Yorkers. It seems like we're taking credit for a city and a history that's much larger than any single person from it. Like, what kind of arrogant shit is that? Yet we do so with pride and sometimes delusion. I've been in New York for most of my life, and I can say that it's not the greatest city. The subways deteriorate more daily. Potholes devastate local roads. The median cost of rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is the highest in the country, and prices outpace value. It doesn't make sense to live here except for the romance. Jay-Z is New York. He's a legacy act who shows exclusivity in style and inclusivity in background. He reminds you where he's from all the time. He's brash about his accomplishments, but measured in his movement. He's also well past his heyday and issues impossible effort persuading you otherwise. Sean Carter is a master wordsmith, albeit a grizzled one. He's escaped the decline rappers face in a young man's form by keeping his verbal dexterity, but he's lost the intangible passion that youth gifts us. Lil Wayne is New Orleans. Hip-hop's other Royal Carter carries a legacy much like his cities. Lil Wayne's New Orleans origins speak to how much its native son often gets overlooked. His influence gets overlooked. Dreadlocks and face tats, I'm the apex, he declares on God Did. He's laid out the style template for the genre's current aesthetic, whether human or AI. His proteges, Drake and Nicki Minaj, drive more conversations and more frequently. His one-time mentor tried to destroy him, but here stands Weezy with staple rap verses on all the biggest songs across 3 decades. If the GOAT title is one public chatter obsesses over, the artist pains himself when he's recognized but not minted. New Orleans blends its Creole gumbo from French, Caribbean, and African spiritual spice. It's the city that makes hard living flow easy. They tried to break the levees on New Orleanians, but their presence remains like the second line. Their verses on God Did, the title track from DJ Khaled's latest anthology of rap heavies, explain why one's exalted and one's oft forgotten. In 16 lines and 48 seconds of meter, Wayne outlines his dominant wordplay, how he wants us to consider him, and why his legendary status isn't debatable. He speaks from a place of confidence and, like a true poet, brevity. Jay-Z labors here. His verse is a 3-minute screed on his ad nauseum honors. Billionaire, check. Sold crack, verified. Swagger unmatched, perhaps. The curse of longevity for nonfiction artists like Hove is whether they'll find new aspects of their lives to mine for relatable content. Wayne also faces this dilemma each time he retells his life in verse, especially now that he's humming a similar swan song. But Weezy's verse sounds less like epitaph and more jersey plaque, a subtle reminder that influence makes his number hang in the rafters. Jay-Z rattles off an index of people he's helped, sounding more like The Game or his Wikipedia. It's not his want to convey grace about who he's boosted and how. See Dame Dash, Kanye West. He name checks LeBron James, Rihanna, and Meek Mill to stamp himself as a keystone in their success, the Rainmaker. No rapper dabbles too heavily in modesty, and Jay-Z won't be the first. Still, it surprises me how unacknowledged he feels versus what actually is. As Wayne shouts out Brittany Griner in an attempt to gain traction for her release, Jay-Z is reminding you of the bid he saved Meek Mill from serving. Jay-Z doesn't like his co-stars to best him on songs, and that mention seems like a nod to his own power to exonerate. But the line that separates these artists the most is this one. Before they overrate me, they gon' underestimate me. Funeral and wake me, bury me and excavate me. With this line, Wayne expresses his unique understanding of his position. Being the greatest means accepting he'll always be underrated. Jay-Z could take a page out of that book, but, as he constantly tells us, he doesn't write anything down. So, what I'm talking about in this essay, and thank you for sticking around with that. Thank you for listening to me read my essay. What I'm talking about in this essay specifically is why Jay-Z is unable to accept the fact that he will never quite be valued in the way that he wants to be. And Wayne, he's accepted that fact. Because Jay-Z hasn't accepted that, he takes us on this winding journey of his like bona fides. It's like how much crack he sold when he was down. He lost 92 bricks when he was down, and he went back up and on the road to Maryland. And some of the stuff is vivid. Like, I love the image of kicking snow off Frozen Tim. That's great, you know, and that's also something that he brings to bear in some of his greatest verses, like in Renegade, when he says, I had to hustle, my back to the wall, ashy knuckles, pockets filled with a lot of lint, not a cent, got a vent, a lot of innocent lives lost on the project bench. Those are images that he brings forward and that make his rhyme style so close to perfection that you can't even understand how one brain can issue that level of imagery. But it seems like he's taken that the imagery's taken a back seat recently. Like, that's the thing that becomes disappointing about Jay-Z's raps now, like on this God Did verse. I'm gonna try to bring it back up so that you can see what I mean by this God Did verse. So as I scroll down, this is Jay-Z's verse. As you can see, it's a lot longer than Wayne's, right? And there are a lot of name checks in general, but this is a great line. Those of them willing to die for the existence that this cold world has chose for them, kicking snow off of Frozen Tim, back and forth on this turnpike really took a toll on them. A lot of fallen soldiers on these roads of sin. I like all that. That is beautiful imagery. But a lot of the rest of the verse, before it and after it, is like, here are the people that I like hustled with. Here are the people that I put on. Here's everyone that I helped. Don't you see how great I am? And it just ends up this kind of like reaching, grabbing for the greatness he's already achieved. Whereas Lil Wayne's verse, it's like this acknowledgement. It's like this very brief acknowledgement. I I don't know how to describe it other than maybe an epilogue, right? It's like, hey, I've told you my story, and now you may sit with it. Whereas Jay-Z is trying to like repeat, double down on aspects of his story so that we respect it more, so that we appreciate him more. I'm trying to understand what he is trying to accomplish with that. Um, but I think the other thing about Jay-Z is that he underestimates us as listeners and fans when he says things like that. He underestimates how much we appreciate him, because I remember the timeline, social media, and just my ear hearing him on the Beyonce album. It's like he doesn't even have to have a verse on it for me to hear his influence. Like I said before, unicorn is the uniform you put on. Might I suggest you don't fuck with my sis? Like that might I suggest line on Cozy, like that is a Jay-Z-ism. He always says, might I suggest. He's always very careful. And even something as technically sound as rhyming might and my by rhyming one word faster than it's usually pronounced and one word a little bit slower. Those are Jay-Z-isms. Whether or not he penned that line, it's like his influence is all over that line. And so you wonder why then he spends entire verses, which is like, you know, at this point in his career, like if we look at people like an Andre 3000 or even a Lil Wayne at this point, who aren't dropping, who they're accepted legends, they might be in the conversation for the greatest wordsmiths of all time. They use their verses to actually explore aspects of their lives, of their psychological landscape that we may not have heard before. Andre 3000 on his verse on Kanye's album, the redacted verse, he's basically talking about missing his mother because she passed away, and what it's like to miss your mother, and that kind of exploration. When Jay-Z did it on 444, it felt like he had crossed a bridge into a new phase of his artistry, where he was willing to be vulnerable, where he was willing to say to us, I know you know the touch points, I know you know the bullet points of my story. Like I said, sold crack. I'm a billionaire now. I'm in the corporate offices, which is, first of all, the corporate office, I can't count how many times the corporate offices in his rhymes. Like, yo, Jay-Z, you on a Zoom call? Like, you're going to tell us about it. Like, the corporate office, the conference call, the Bluetooth, everything. He's so obsessed with being corporate and honestly with being accepted by whiteness. His proximity to whiteness is definitely a huge part of Jay-Z's personality. It's why he was always obsessed with being a mafia boss in his early career. He wanted to be, you know, emulating sort of like Italian tropes from movies. It was proximity to whiteness. He didn't come around to accepting and shouting out his blackness, and really exploring what blackness means until his later career. But beyond that, the vulnerability of an album like 444, which I give him a lot of credit for, it seems to be missing from these like copy paste like cookie cutter verses that he's doing now, to the point where you know what he's going to say in a Jay-Z verse now. You know he's going to talk about like how he understands something about the road to wealth that you don't, why he's a billionaire, how many billionaires he's created, like what you niggas is missing. Like that's a lot of his rhetoric now. It's like you're missing me. All this is going over your head. Which as a fan, it's like, how can you appreciate that when someone is literally browbeating you into trying to appreciate them? And Lil Wayne, on the other hand, he's saying, hey, this is like the epilogue. This is the beginning of my swan song, in fact. I know that I'll be underestimated. I know that they're going to potentially not understand me until I'm dead or they're dead or both. And I accept that, and I'm still out here banging. I'm still out here giving you amazing wordplay and great verses. And I think Jay-Z has moments, you know, I think he has moments of that, but I get a little bit disappointed as a student of craft, of words, I get disappointed somewhat in how Jay-Z tends to go about his wordplay and his sort of turn of phrase. It's almost as if he is going to bring you through this lecture of his work instead of showing you with the images, like the kick the snow off the frozen Tim. That's an image, right? Like that's like Henry Wordsworth Longfellow, or William Carlos Williams, or Sonia Sanchez. All the great poets know how to just freeze you with an image, just like Wayne does in his first line of the verse. Um, Sky's the limit. Every day I reach. They was tired of me winning. Now they dead sleep. Um, those it's like sleep, the sky. Like these are classic um, references that you put into great poetic imagery, just like snow on a boot. But Jay Z, instead of staying there, he goes into these laundry lists of things he's done, and it almost seems like this like verbal tick, like a psychological. It's a security blanket for him to list off how you can check the record. I've done these things. You remember I did these things. Um, and it seems a little like pleading for someone who is so esteemed, and I want to know the story behind that. Like at this point in his life, especially with the success of 444, I want to say like the critical success and like just how it was received. You would hope that he becomes the kind of artist who can continue to go in that direction of showing us what his self-development has yielded, the parts of his story that we may not know. Like, because we know you're rich, but we also don't know how hard it is to be rich. We also don't know how hard it is for you to be a father. We don't know how hard it is for you to be the less famous of the two parents in the household. And we don't know the heartbreak that you experience in split friendships. Like, he's touched barely on those things, and I feel like with his artistic skills, he could not only bring to light these major issues that we all go through, he could also give his career more dimension. And so what I want you to do is hit the Medium page. I'm going to put the Medium article back up. Please hit the Medium page, and if you are not a paying member of Medium right now, please subscribe to Medium. You can subscribe to Medium on my page, right, by just like clicking this little envelope icon. I'm going to show it on the screen. You click this envelope icon next to my name, right, when you go into my profile, and it'll help you to subscribe. All right, I'm logged in, so I can't show you, but go to drewbreeze.medium.com, right? I'm gonna see if I can put that on the screen for y'all. I'm gonna go to drewbreeze.medium.com. Here's one of my recent stories. The Khaled duel with Beyonce perfectly explains why black capitalism won't save you. Lil Wayne's mastery makes me appreciate him and sigh at Jay-Z. So these are the kinds of material I'm writing really often. I'm jumping in Medium 3-4 times a week to make sure that there's fresh content that you understand and can see pop culture topics through the lens of race, class, gender, equity, justice. So I'm going to, if I can, show you how to subscribe to Medium. Or wait, what was I about to put on screen? I'm not sure if that's actually what I was going to say. Hold on. All right, I'm back here. Please go to Medium. Go to drewbreeze.medium.com. Oh yeah, I'm also throw up that on the screen right now in some text. Go to drewbreeze.medium.com, and this is going to be on the screen for a while, and I'm going to also show you my social handles, right? So go to drewbreeze.medium.com, right? See if I could make this a little smaller so you can see it. Alright. Hopefully y'all see that in the stream. Go to drewbreeze.medium.com. I'm also going to throw up my social handles, which is Twitter @DrewBreeze. It's my Twitter handle. And I'm also going to throw on my Cash App. Right? Hold on, that's going to be a little crazy at first when you first see it. But I'm going to throw on my Cash App. So these are the ways that you can support. You can support my page. You can subscribe to my Medium page. Number one, that's the most important thing. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is right here. You can also subscribe to, or just pay me on Cash App. You know, on Medium, you can tip by clicking on the cash link at the bottom of my story. It says donate. But I'm just throw the Cash App up there too, so y'all can see. The Cash App is just like this. Cash App. It's just like this. You know what I mean? Oh, I flipped it over. Just make it a little smaller so you can see it. A little smaller so you can see it. Alright. So those are my handles. drewbreeze.medium.com. I'm @DrewBreeze on Twitter. Cash, $ Drew Breeze on Cash App. So you can support. I'm going to stream almost every day if I can. I'm going to share with you these live articles. Sometimes I'll share with you as I write them, right? I'm about to take these off the screen. Sometimes I'll share with you as I write them, so you can be in on the process, so that the conversation that we have here will end up in an article, will end up in the live stream. So I really, really appreciate and encourage everyone who's joining these live streams, because I think these conversations need to be recorded. Because unlike Hove, I do write things down. This is the record, and this record includes you, it includes me, what we think, and I appreciate you for joining me. I'm gonna say I appreciate you for joining me. My name is Drew Breeze. This is my live stream. You can come to my YouTube channel, subscribe for it, and get notifications about when I go live. I plan to go live 3 to 4 times a week and bring you in on my process. Please go to my Medium page and subscribe. Go to my Twitter and follow. That's free. Or you can, again, subscribe to my YouTube. It's also free. Check me out. I appreciate you for joining me. Thank you very much. This has been the live stream with Drew Breeze.